So I think with this we're ready to start. Welcome everyone to the kickoff webinar of the online track. This is the second webinar for today. We'll have one more tomorrow morning. So welcome everyone. We're very excited to have all of you here in the call. And as you're now active participants of the session, this is perfect because this should really be an interactive session where you can ask questions, where you meet each other and the partners. So this is really the idea for today. Just a few words on what we're going to do today. As I said, it's introductions. We're going to share also a few words about the Enable Makeathon, our vision and how this came about. Of course, we'll answer your questions to the program, and can I ask everyone to mute your mics at this point because we're very many people in the call. So please, everyone, mute your microphones. Otherwise, I'll have to do it for you. Okay, thank you very much. So program, introduction, and your questions, and then also a few words about design parameters and what's the context that we're innovating for. So again, it's a very interactive sessions, and we'll be happy to take your questions all along the way. So with no further ado, we can start with introductions. I'll just start with myself. My name is Andrina. We've been in touch various times now through email. I work in the International Committee of the Red Cross in the Innovation Initiative here in Geneva, and I'll be your main focal point for these online participants of the Makeathon. I let Tarun Sarwal introduce himself as the head of innovation of the ICRC. Tarun, can you present yourself and also say what's your role in the Makeathon?
Hi everyone, this is Tarun Sarwal. I'm sorry there'll be a little bit of noise because I'm traveling in a taxi as we do this, which is quite new for me. I lead on innovation at the ICRC, and part of the Enable Makeathon as it goes on. So you may have seen some emails from me at the start of the process. I am currently in India, and perhaps some of you saw me if you saw some of the videos yesterday. Yeah, that's enough about me. Perhaps
Okay.
I can move on. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to ask Nihal Kashinath, can you also introduce yourself and what's your role?
Hello everyone, my name is Nihal Kashinath and I run an open community called IoT Bangalore, which focuses on the Internet of Things. Amongst other things, what we also do is a lot of crowdsourcing of innovation through hackathons and programs such as this. And with the Enable Makeathon, we have been working with Tarun and Dina and all the partners to conceptualize this event and design and deliver it as well.
Thank you very much. All of you will have the word again later. I believe Pavan is not yet in the call. He will join shortly and can then also introduce himself. For now, I'd also like to ask Mohan from APD. Are you also online and can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, we'll do that. Thanks, Anthony. Hi, this is Mohan. I am based out of Bangalore with the disability partner for this event called Association of People with Disability. I am keenly aware of the needs of the disabled, have looked at appliances and a user of a wheelchair myself. And the focus in this event, okay, I'll come to the focus later. So my role is in terms of bringing appreciation of disability to all the participants in this event.
Thank you very much, Mohan. Can you please mute the mic again? Thank you very much. So these are three of our main partners. As you might know, the Enable Makeathon is an initiative of the ICRC, the International Committee of the Red Cross, but it's very much a collaborative effort So the people you've just met now, they've been crucial over the last months to conceptualize the event, and they're very much in charge of shaping this program and implementing it. What you see now on the slides are further key partners that we have on board that make this effort possible. So this includes some of the best universities in India, such as the Indian Institute of Management in Bangalore or the Indian Institute of Technology Madras, but also Global Shapers Community Bangalore, Dalberg, Intellicap, Swissnex India, and a few more. So very much a collaborative effort, and all of those that are in the call today and the key partners will be happy to be interacting with you over the next weeks and months. With that, I'd like to give the word to you so that we also meet each other. I think we're not too many that each of us can also briefly introduce himself or herself. Maybe I'll just start on the top of my list and I'll ask you just to briefly introduce yourself and say also which idea are you working on. So I'll start on top. There's Innovative who's speaking for them, and please unmute your mic as you start. Hello, Innovative. We can't hear you yet. Can you try to speak?
Hello everyone. This is Gaurav along with Arpit and Praneeth. We are from...
I'd like...
can you hear me?
We do hear you now, yes.
Okay. Just a brief introduction. Hello everyone. This is Gaurav, Arpit and Praneeth. We are from Team Complete Wheelchair. We are a group of automotive engineers working here in an automotive OEM in India, and we are trying to design a better and complete wheelchair for people with lower limb disability. Yeah, that is it.
Wonderful. What made you join the Makeathon?
Well, I guess everybody have a soft corner in their heart, and we also wanted to make a difference in some way, and this was a good platform for it, so we decided to go for it.
Okay, thank you very much. So as you'll see, I'll keep changing the slides to the project or idea we're currently talking about, so you can get a brief description on the slides at the same time. Next here on my list is Marty. Could you please also introduce yourself if you're online, Martin?
Can you hear my voice okay?
Yes, we hear you well.
Okay, great. My name is Martin Sweeney, and I'm in Pasadena, California. And I've been in the field of technology for, almost over 32 years. I have so that's what brought me into the community. And then I worked for what was happening in the field of technology, and specifically the technology, and that led me into doing some work at a community level, and then I became a professional about 15 years ago here in California. The challenge that I'm interested in, and I don't know that I'm going to actually be able to participate in terms of being able to organize the partners that I was contacting, but the challenge that I'm interested in was adapting some mobile technology to allow for therapeutic access, cognitive therapy. Many people with cerebral palsy who are nonverbal and are not able to access cognitive therapy oftentimes only get a prescription here in the United States. So they're taking drugs for mental health issues, but they're not actually able to interact with a therapist a more traditional way. So I'm looking to find a way to use mobile technology successfully so that people can actually get some level of counseling and therapy. And that model already now exists. There are some companies out there that are providing cognitive therapy through mobile technology. It's that the accessibility issues haven't really been addressed in terms of our community. So that's my
Okay.
interest, and I'm thrilled about the idea of doing an online makeathon. So I'm also very interested in how all this plays out.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing, Martin.
You're welcome.
Jimit, can I ask you to introduce yourself and please unmute your mic as well as you speak? Jimit Rokadia? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, are you able to listen to me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, yeah. Hello everyone. Our team is Enablers. Our main idea is to provide solutions for thorough automation in the daily handle equipment in the rural houses to make them like easily available for all the disabled persons. The system will help them or rather assist them to complete automation.
Mm-hmm. Can you share what's your motivation? Why did you join the Makeathon? Jimit? Maybe I'll use this opportunity to ask Vibhuti. You're in the same team. Are you there? Could you unmute your mic?
Hi, Anjana. Yeah. So this is Vibhuti. I'll continue what Jimit left. I think he went offline somehow. So our idea is the automation one, and we are trying to home automate the rural areas. It's quite difficult because the setting of rural is not appropriate. But we are trying to automate their doors, their taps, so that disabled can, easily use it. Our motivation comes from the fact that we are from a developing country, and like most of our population is in rural areas, and for the disabled it's really hard to travel around in India or in any developing countries. So we have been in interaction with such people around us, and we are really motivated to implement this idea and see how it can help them. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So as you'll see, there's a very big diversity of challenges that are being addressed, but also then solutions that are being suggested. So the one from the team enablers, for example, that falls under the category of the open challenge, which is really, in a way, pushing the boundaries of how could we maybe use new technologies, but make it very appropriate and affordable to the context of low resources, basically. So just to kind of order that into what we're talking about. So I'll ask Sam Waters, are you also online, and could you introduce yourself, please? Yes, hello Sam. We don't hear you yet. We see that you're speaking, but we don't hear you yet. Can you try again? We can't hear you yet. Let me see whether some of your teammates are here. I don't see any of them online. If any one of you is online, please speak up. I'd ask you, maybe you can change your audio settings, and possibly if it works, just let us know. In the meantime, I'd like to ask Rochelle, could you introduce yourself as well?
Andrina, can you please add Tarun back? I think he's trying to reconnect.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just add him.
Rochelle, sorry, please go on.
I think equally we don't hear you, Rochelle. We see that you're speaking. Not yet. We see that you're unmuted, but we don't have any sound. Maybe equally check with your, I don't know, change your audio setting or keep trying. And in the meantime, I'd also like to go to João. João, are you there? Could you introduce yourself? Yes, hello? I think I don't have any sound from João, but from someone else now. Can you keep trying? But I'm afraid I don't have sound neither from Sam, Rochelle, or João. But I'm glad to know that Nihal before was able to speak, so it's maybe not at my end a problem. Anyone has any idea on how to resolve this?
Potentially try disconnecting and reconnecting. Those who haven't been able to get their sound through.
Yes, maybe that's an idea. Do you want to try, Joao, Rochelle, Sam, to drop out and join again in through the link? Okay, thank you. Okay, we have Joao back. Can you try? Sorry, no sound yet. Hello, who's speaking? I think this is Jimit, actually.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. So apparently there's some sound working not from Joao's end. Okay, please keep trying. In the meantime, I'll ask Diana to introduce herself.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Okay, great. I'm Diana. I'm currently in Quito, Ecuador, so our internet is also dropping in and out. But I'm part of the team ROMP, the Range of Motion Project. We are a nonprofit that provides prosthetic and orthotic care to patients who don't have access to this care otherwise in mainly Guatemala, but also through partner clinics in Ecuador, Mexico, and the United States. And our device was inspired from a patient that came in very recently. He lost both of his arms above the elbow, right below the shoulder. And there are, since the population of bilateral upper limb amputees isn't, comparatively speaking, that large across the globe, not a lot of time or energy has been invested into any kind of assistive devices technology to help this population of people. So our device is trying to help one aspect of daily living become a little bit easier, and that's to get dressed independently. So the user can both load the device with their clothes and also don the clothes independently with their device.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing. I think we all agree there's a huge need on a very practical daily basis. So do you want to share maybe about your team members? Are they all part of the same organization?
So Patrick and David are also part of ROMP. Angie McDonald was a volunteer with us. She is a mechanical engineering student at the University of Victoria in Canada, and she was down here in Quito for the past 2 months while we started working on this project together. But she is unfortunately returned back to Canada. So we're working remotely with each other. Patrick is the executive director of the Range of Motion project, and Dave is a co-founder. So Dave is the prosthetist who is currently seeing our patient, the one that this device is inspired for. And Pat and I kind of do the operations work around the organization.
Okay, thank you very much. So I'll go through the same people again one more time. We'll give it one more try for each. So I'll ask Intellovative. Can you try to unmute your mic and speak?
Hello everyone.
Yes, hello?
Hello.
Yes, we do hear you. Go ahead, please.
Do you want me to introduce us once more?
I'm sorry, maybe I got confused with the names. Because it's innovative, can you remind me? What's your
Actually,
group
we are
name? Or
team complete wheelchair. Complete wheelchair. Third one.
oh, of course. I'm sorry. We already had your introduction.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'll ask Joao to try one more time then.
Hello?
Yes, I hear someone. Is it Joao speaking?
Yeah, this is basically Mahmoud. Joao is on my left and Joanna. And you're still hearing me, right?
We do. Please go
Okay.
ahead.
So basically, our idea is making prosthetic for upper limb. And the concept idea that we are working on is basically using soft materials and soft joints so that we will be able to basically make a good functionality of the hand. So probably some of you know about the Enable community, not Enable Makeathon, but the other Enable. And so our contribution to that was, if you can pass me those fingers, was basically using soft fingers. I can show you some of these fingers, which is basically we have a silicone covering on the fingers, and so it bends like this. So this is a version of the hand. It lost one of the fingers recently. So that uses soft fingers, and with some tests. Fortunately, we also did some tests, and we developed some benchmarks, and we showed that based on our new idea, we can increase the functionality of these hands compared to the state of the art. You can see Joanna is using one of the wrist actuated hands, if you can. Yes. And so this is our core concept. We already have a prototype, a proven prototype that works quite well. And within this program, what we want to do is basically move on from the 3D printed hands to hands which we can produce in large quantity and low cost, so that in rural areas where you don't have access to 3D printers, we can assemble this. And we are looking at a modular approach where the fingers can be plugged into the palm, which is the palm should be based on the patient, but the fingers can be produced centrally in high production to reduce the cost.
Okay, thank you very much. Could I maybe ask Joanna also to introduce herself? And maybe you can add why you are working on prosthetic hands.
My name is Joanna. I'm from mechanical engineering, and I'm doing my master's thesis here in the robotics and system robotics institute. And I'm trying to help with the joints in the hand, in that hand, to make the movement more like kind of human. I
Yeah,
don't know,
anthropomorphic.
anthropomorphic, and is that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
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 there's
João
a
is
yeah.
so
So my name is João. I'm mechanical engineer. I'm researcher here in the Institute of Systems and Robotics, and I'm also working on the transport the printed parts to production. I'm working on the making this hand modular and simply to apply and to have in all rural areas and difficult to have printed parts places.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing and welcome to the Makeathon as well.
thank you.
So I'd like to ask Rochelle, can you please try again?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we do. And everyone
Okay,
else,
good.
please mute. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, Gary is trying to get on the Google Hangout, but he wasn't able to, so I'll speak for him as well. Anyways, I'm a master's in prosthetics and orthotics at Georgia Tech, and we were designing a low-cost multi-axial and energy storing prosthetic foot. This design we've been working on for about a year or more, but the idea of the foot is that it's more energy efficient and more able to accommodate rough terrain than some of the prosthetic feet that are available on the low cost or low resource settings. So right now the foot, we have our second prototype and we're ready to begin testing on it, but we're hoping to go towards a manufacturing process more along the lines of injection molding. So down the line the foot will be very inexpensive, but also have the same function as a carbon fiber foot that's available in the United States. So that's a little background.
Okay, thank you very much. And I hope everyone can see, for example, the foot on the slides as we're speaking. So I'd like to ask Sam one more time to please also try again.
All right, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
All right. So my name is Sam Waters. I am an undergraduate bioengineering student at the University of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I am representing the International Society of Wheelchair Professional Student Group. The ISWP is a group dedicated to delivering wheelchairs and other assistive devices to people in developing nations. Our current project is to create a online wheelchair database and community which will serve to get information regarding wheelchairs to people in developing nations, as well as serve as a sort of community hub for them. And we would like to use this contest to raise awareness about our group and about our website.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and also welcome to the Makeathon. So I believe everyone has spoken. Otherwise, let me know if I missed out anyone. If that's not the case, I propose we go on. Just a few words about the Enable Makeathon, where we're coming from and what's the vision behind. And for that, I'd like to ask Tarun, if you're here, to please share, because you've been leading this process very much so far. Please unmute your mic so that we can hear you.
Yeah. As you probably know, the ICRC, the International Committee of the Red Cross, is that branch of the Red Cross that works in conflict situations. And over the years, particularly because of the use of mines, disability particularly has become a big part of our work. We currently have about 40 different places around the world where we fit people with prosthetics and orthotics. Now this is part of the issue. We're able to do that with the existing technology, and to some extent we were pioneers in that. A lot of the people who we work with are actually people living in rural areas, and it's clear that apart from just needing of prosthetics and orthotics, there are lots of needs that people have, and this gave rise to the project. We started off by doing another review of what people's needs were, and also included obviously the experience that we have in the past, and we came out with the 9 challenges that you have seen on the website and to which most people have responded. The idea is that to bring together a whole ecosystem of people who are concerned with the provision of disability aids and assistive devices to people living in largely in developed countries. So we're talking about rural areas, but also including people in slums. What we found is that in many environments, particularly developing country environments, there's a sort of a market failure where people are not able to there's a market failure where innovation is in fact not supported. And so what we wanted to do was to bring together people who understood disability, companies who were making it, academic institutional, technical institutions, but also the people who understand the market, who understand finance, so that we could create an ecosystem around creating these new products. The intention is that we, at the end of this process, have at least 15 to 20 products that are prepared for a rural market, and at the kind of price points that we expect that people will be able to actually purchase them. Over the process, you may have seen that we received about 145 applications in all, and we've selected 17 applications from the online stream, which is the worldwide stream, and 15 applications from India. Over the last couple of days, we had 2 days with all the participants who were chosen in India for an immersion challenge day, so that they could actually have a face-to-face with each other, but also meet up with people within a disability environment to understand the issues that they're dealing with. So we brought together people who, in a kind of in a large sort of association for physical disability at which Mohan works. We had all the participants, but also had people with a broad range of experience. So designers, technologists, people with domain experience, as well as finance people. Really happy that you are all here together. It's quite a phenomenal response that we've had, and more than anything, it's been quite inspiring to see that people are really driven with passion to do this. As we go ahead, I think Andrina will kind of set out what the next steps are, but we're trying to, in a sense, move towards helping all the people who have applied, all the teams who have applied, to reach the capabilities that they can, but ensuring, of course, that the kind of spirit of actually working with disabled is taken through this process. And then we will have a deselection process after a month or so, where we see to what extent people have gone on, and then we finally hope to have about 15 to 20 ideas that we take for our demo day. As the process has grown, a lot more people have heard about it and got interested in it, and one of the key players for us, because this is centered in India, has been the Indian government, and they are actually interested in looking at all the ideas that you have produced, including some of the ideas that are produced by people who have not been selected. So I'll stop there, and if you have any questions specifically about how we go forward, etc., after the presentation, I'm very happy to answer them. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Tarun, for sharing this vision. You've already started talking about the challenge and the immersion days that happened just this weekend. I think there were 2 very exciting days for everyone that has been there. So I'd like to ask Pavan, who has just joined the call, could you please also introduce yourself and maybe share a few highlights about the challenge and the immersion days? Please unmute your mic as you speak. Pavan, are you there? If you can hear us.
Hey, yes, I'm here. Sorry, I had a little bit of a thing. So can you repeat?
Okay, no worries. I just wanted to ask you whether you could share a few things or highlights of the challenge and immersion days. Give us an insight of what has been happening this weekend. And before you start, also introduce yourself because you haven't had a chance to do so.
Absolutely. Hey guys, this is Pawan here. I am the founder and CEO of Workbench Projects. I am the co-conspirator of this entire thing with Nihal Kashinath from IoT BLR, and of course Tarun from ICRC and Andrina and all of these guys. I just run this very modest makerspace in this heart of the city of Bangalore with basic tools for prototyping. So I also work with a lot of people on some. I mean, our motto is to work towards responsible innovation. So making is all fine, but then if it doesn't lead to something impactful or meaningful, then it doesn't make sense to us as Workbench projects. So that's what we do, and that's what I do. As far as the challenge and immersion day goes, so we've been very lucky to be part of this ecosystem with APD, which is the Association for People with Disability, and it is one of the organizations that's been there for 60 years working with people with disability, with various kinds of disabilities, with spinal cord injury, with upper limb, lower limb issues, and CP, polio, and all of these things. And they have different departments giving giving knowledge transfer to training to schooling to giving them livelihood options and things like these. So basically, the entire day, the first day was to go through kind of an immersion, kind of be in an environment where we could soak in as much as possible with the kind of people that we were looking at, with the kind of people that we were working with the people that we wanted to kind of draw inspiration from. So the entire immersion day was revolving around that. So every team was given an opportunity to kind of get immersed in the environment. They were given opportunity to talk to each department at APD to understand how they function. And also the most important thing was to also look at the softer aspect of disability, with also a session run by one of the good guys called Gopinath, who took us through some of the softer aspects of things. Apart from that, the teams introduced themselves and get the questions going amongst themselves as to what exactly they were trying to solve as a challenge, what was the solution, and then what are the other questions that they might have not thought about. So the first day was all about trying to get the best intro possible. And then the second day was literally the challenge day where Vishesh and Dalberg and somebody from IP side of things
You're a
came
bit
and spoke about.
interrupted.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, I think it's fine. Please go ahead.
Okay, so the second day was all about getting that were identified by the entire program was thanks to a lot of work done by Vishesh, one of the partners, and then of course Dalberg, which had a lot of interesting demographics and census reports and other things around the entire disability sector, trying to show us how lucrative the market is if we wanted to be a company, if we wanted to be a not-for-profit, if we wanted to be a social enterprise. And apart from that, we were also talking about people from the IP sector, trying to help the participants understand where they would want to be in terms of how protected their ideas are or what the entire idea is about. And also largely working with mentor groups on the second day, where we had classified them into design, technology, domain expertise, and business mentors, and then each team got to spend a really good amount of time ideating, brainstorming, and then getting really good feedback from the mentors from different buckets. So this is pretty much what happened on both the days, and most of it is captured on video, and you guys can kind of look at the YouTube link. You will see me talking a lot more because I was also the master of ceremony. So if you're getting annoyed, please mute that time.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing. In the last webinar, kickoff webinar 1, we had someone from the online track, Ankit, who was there at Challenge and Immersion Days, and he shared how his team already quite changed their idea just because of the interactions with the people and getting aware of what the context is. They already completely changed their idea. So that was really the purpose of Challenge and Immersion Days, to interact with the people and check whether what we have in mind as we're sitting maybe in our offices, whether that actually applies to the context. So I'd like to give the opportunity also to Mohan, because you're working at APD, who hosted the Challenge and Immersion Days. Can you share what was a highlight for you of the weekend?
Um, so the firstly, this was from a disability point of view, and someone who's been in the disability space and working with people with disability, having an event where youngsters and people focus their energies on building innovations for the disabled was by itself a very heartening thing to see. I can't recall in the past a gathering of people who had done this, and so it was a momentous occasion for us. So that, having said that, it was uh, it was also good to see the kind of thought that went into building the challenge solutions, as I would think, and looking at how it would help a lot of people in rural India. So one of the challenges that we have in
Mohan, I think it's interrupted. We can't hear you right now. Are you still there?
as we saw in the presentations made by Dalberg, in the case of India, 78% of the people with locomotor disability in rural India did not have access to medical opinion and prosthetists for them to be able to get any kind of disability aid, right? Or any kind of mobility aids, as we would look at. So that, having said that, the challenge is to see how do we make products that are affordable, products that are easy to roll out in rural settings, and a lot of importance also has to be given as to on how one would service these equipment in the rural areas. And I think that the first thing that happened in the immersion day is a lot of people who came, a lot of teams did not have people with disability. So their understanding of disability was limited to what they saw, not what they felt or what it is to be somebody with a disability. And in the immersion day, we took people through some mock exercises where they are put in situations where they're not able to use one of their limbs, and what is it then to be in that position. And I think all of them came out equally saying that we never knew, we thought we knew what it was to be a person with a disability. We really did not know it then, we know it now. So I think that is, to us, that is something that is a big achievement. For somebody else to be in our shoes and appreciate what we undergo on a daily basis is the first step to others finding solutions for a portion of the population and relevant solutions for a portion of the population. And I think that was something that was very good. And we also saw a good number of teams with a few prototypes. And they also came back saying, hey, we got prototypes, but I think we can do far better, and we should address a larger range of problems with what we want to do than just be very narrowly focused. So I think these were two of the largest takeaways that I had as a person coming from the disability sector.
Thank you very much,
Over to you,
Mohan,
Andrew.
for sharing. And we'll come back a bit later in the presentation also about the design parameters and the context we're innovating for, because this is so important. So we really want to emphasize that further. For now, I'd like to ask Nihal, could you just give a brief overview of the on-site program? I think it's okay to keep it fairly brief so that we can then later focus on the online program, but just that we all have the overview of what's happening in Bangalore in the coming weeks.
Sure. So the on-site program is not very different from the online, except for maybe some changes in dates. But of course, the biggest difference being that the online program has been designed for remote engagement, while the on-site program all happens at one physical location. So everybody is invited, all the participants are invited to Bangalore on 3 main event days, which is the challenge and immersion days, which just happened, and then coming up in a month as the business bootcamp and the maker days, which is basically a large hackathon that's going to happen. And finally, 2 months from now will be the demo day, where they can present their solutions to an audience of potential investors, NGOs, government, etc., who could become their first customers. Now, in between these days, we will have multiple touch points with all the participants. In terms of every Wednesday, we're going to have webinars. We call them Learning Wednesdays, where we will be getting experts to speak about some aspect of the whole making process or the whole business development process. This will happen for every week until demo day, every Wednesday, and of course all of this information will also be available to the people who are participating in the online track. And the other checkpoint, or the other touch point, is a checkpoint that happens every Friday to ensure that all the teams are keeping pace and that everybody's progressing. So this is basically what's going to happen in the on-site part. I think the major difference is that they will all be coming down for 3 separate events, but otherwise everything else is once again very similar to the online part, where we all interact through webinars.
Thank you very much. Shall we take some questions at this point, or do you prefer to learn about the online program? So if there are any pressing questions, you can let us know right now.
I think, Andrina, just to share one thing.
Sure.
Yeah, Andrina? Yeah, one thing I just want to convey to all the people who are on the online track is that we had an opportunity to share all the selected ideas. I think maybe perhaps we didn't share the last 2, but it was very, very interesting for the participants there. First of all, to listen to each other's ideas, and also then to see what had come from the global program, and because I think everyone really appreciated that many people in the online program had really understood disability, but also had started, had really kind of put themselves in the position of what it might be to work in to be disabled in a developing country in a rural environment. What I would suggest you do, if you haven't done
Tarun, I'm sorry it's interrupted. Are you still there? Tarun? Okay, I'm afraid he might have dropped out. Are you still here, Tarun? Okay, I think we have to continue, and Tarun will be back. Okay, well, I'll continue talking. So what he was saying is that the 1-minute videos that we have received from you were shared on Sunday at the on-site Makeathon in Bangalore, and they really found great interest. So thank you for your submissions, and we'll try to keep this link very active between what's happening in Bangalore in India and what's happening abroad, because we're convinced that we can all learn from each other a lot by interacting and giving each other feedback and support. So with this, I'd like to start with the overview of the online program. I'll just call in Tarun again. Apparently he has dropped out. Yes, Tarun, are you back? Tarun?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to continue sharing?
Sorry, I don't know why I got cut off, but I mean, what I basically wanted to say was that there is a video on the site where all of the 15 teams from taking part in the on-site Makeathon, and I would suggest that perhaps people go and have a look at them. In most cases, it's about 30 different ideas, but you will see that there are some which are in direct competition with each other. So we talked a little bit about the fact that everybody has come here in a sense, in a way to compete, but also in the way that this program has developed. And what we'd like to see is quite a lot of collaboration. We will try and ensure that you have adequate information of what other people are doing, and soon we hope to open up the blog so that people can actually learn from each other as they go on. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much for sharing. So with this, we can start with the online program overview. I think we will not take too much time anymore, but then just take the time to also answer to your questions. So this is the kickoff webinar. So after this, we're ready to start this program. What we already said is there are going to be more resources available on the website. And the next weeks are dedicated for you to work on your proof of concept. So the first submission deadline for you will be the 14th of December. This is what you'll be working towards in the next days. We will have weekly checkpoints and reporting for you. This is really meant to help you in this process. So to kind of break down the time leading up to the next deadline, to have a few checkpoints where you can share what you've been working on, but also share what's the support that you would need and which are the people you would need to talk to. As mentioned by Nihal already, there are going to be weekly webinar sessions on different topics. Could be, I think it's design, even tomorrow or next week. So this is always at 7 p.m. Indian Standard Time and at 2 a.m. Indian Standard Time on Wednesday and Thursdays respectively. So this is also going to be a Google Hangout on Air session where everyone can join in and learn, and they're going to be available after the session as well. So this information will continue to be communicated as we go ahead, like about the content of these sessions. And finally, the third element of this is the access to the mentor pool. We'll also make available to you a list of mentors from different fields, including design, business, technology, but also disability, that you can contact and that will be happy to help you, to give you feedback and guidance. Of course, within a certain setting. So these are all also busy people. So we'll ask you to respect their schedules. But generally, they're very happy to help you and give you feedback and guidance. So these are the first three elements leading up to the first deadline, which is on the 14th of December. That's just before the Business Bootcamp and Maker Days. And what we will ask you to submit there is a short video of 3 minutes that will demonstrate a proof of concept. So proof of concept that your idea can actually work, and we'll ask you to show it with a potential user. So whatever you're working on from now on, basically, it's important to test and try, and this is what we ask you to do. And this should be complemented by a short written documentation that can be like 2 pages, where you give a few more specifics, which could be about what are the features and functionalities, what's the material you think to use, where are you in this process, what have you already tested, what are the open questions, an estimated price point at this stage, because we know this is important, and also how you consider the design parameters that we will mention more just later. So this is the first submission just before the Business Bootcamp and Maker Days. And what we want to make sure is that we have an opportunity to ask you questions, and you have an opportunity to then answer these questions. So it's not just a one submission and then we select based on this submission, but there's a chance to ask you follow-up questions and you have a chance to answer them. This is why it's a few days before the actual evaluation day or Maker Days. This will give us time to answer your question, and then there's a final submission of your answers on the 18th of December, and the decisions will be made on the 21st. So this is the date where we select the finalist teams to continue up to demo day. So this is the first selection round We haven't decided on the number for the online participants. We're a bit more open than for the online on-site track in Bangalore, but there's going to be a selection there for sure. And whatever you submit, like your video and documentation, that will be showcased at the Maker Days in Bangalore. So this is a really great opportunity to showcase what you've worked on, to also attract feedback and further support for what you've been working on. Is there anything anyone wants to add? Nihal, Pavan, Tarun, at this point, or any question from anyone?
Yes, I would like to quickly add that the 2 slides things here also, just like how we mentioned it for the earlier one. So for the on-site track, what we are also doing is along with the weekly Wednesday learnings and the checkpoints on Friday, every team is going to submit just 2 slides of what has been completed in that week and what they will be achieving in the next one, so that it will be very clear to map the progress of the entire project from each team, or the product from each team. So it gives us a clear picture of what's happening and what's going to happen.
Thank you very much. So this is the format basically for the weekly checkpoints and reporting. And we will follow up with written information on that, like on everything else as well. Is there anything else? Otherwise I continue. Okay. So the teams in Bangalore then have the Business Bootcamp and Maker Days. These take place from the 18th to the 21st of December, just before Christmas. And similar to the webinar that we're having now, we also then want to share what's been happening at these days to give you an insight and to facilitate some of the learnings that the on-site participants had. So equally, we will have a Business and Making webinar on the 22nd and 23rd of December. For now, we think it's going to be in 2 slots. We will decide after these webinar sessions on the timings, depending on the feedback and interest we got for these 3 slots that we proposed. So again, a 2-hour webinar, this time around business and making, and also to catch up on what has been happening in Bangalore at that time. From there, we're again getting ready for demo day. So this is then working towards your final product pitch at the demo day. This last phase, you'll define your own objectives. You'll incorporate the feedback that you've got from the panelists. So this is, of course, the finalist teams that we're talking about here. And you will address specific challenges that are left, including through mentorship. Again, these are the same 3 formats like in the first mentoring and support phase that we've had, with the weekly checkpoints, the weekly webinar sessions, and the access to the mentorship pool. What is important in this phase is then also to increasingly consider the business model aspect of it. These are the things you've learned already at the business webinar. So this includes, for example, distribution and price points, how your solution is going to be financed, how it's going to be made sustainable. So this will be part of your final pitch for Demo Day. At Demo Day itself, you'll deliver a business and product demonstration pitch. This time it's 5 minutes through video as well. And this shall be accompanied by a poster that really has some more detailed information that maybe cannot be transmitted through a video. The deadline and process for this is yet to be confirmed. Again, there we would love to have an interaction, but we are very aware of the feasibility that might be hard. So Skyping in everyone from around the world at a specific time. So this is what we're working on right now to determine how this can look like. What we for sure know is that we again want to have a question answer. So it's not just your submission and then we judge. It shall be a submission and question answer, and we have to decide yet through which ways we can enable this. So this is the demo day. All online teams are also eligible to the prize money that you've seen on the website. So there are 3 cash prizes that can work as seed money, basically. So this, I think, gives the overall view of the process, and I've added "and beyond" at the bottom because this should really just be the start. The whole program has been designed in a way that shall enable the ideas to be further developed into early prototypes and then fully fledged products, basically. So this is why we bring together broad ecosystem players at the demo day and throughout the process. So this includes manufacturers, investors, and NGOs, so anyone that could enable your product to be taken further and eventually being implemented. Okay, are there any questions? Or maybe first I'll ask Nihal, Pavan, Tarun, did I leave out anything that should be added?
No, I think you've covered it all quite well.
Okay, any questions on the program for this? I can just add that all of this will be made available on the website in the coming days. This includes all the resources, basically the films from the challenge and immersion days. There are also challenge films available that really give you a good insight of the context. So the rural villages, basically, and the people with disabilities living there. This includes the market study report and also the access to the mentorship pool and how this will work. So this will be online in the few coming days, basically.
Hi, Andrina. I have a question.
Please go ahead.
So the next step or the next thing for us, would that be next Wednesday or Thursday, a weekly webinar?
Yes, maybe Nihal, you can share on that. What's the next webinar planned?
Well, actually, the next webinar is tomorrow. So tomorrow, 7 o'clock India time, we will have a webinar on design process and creation of an FRS document. That's a functional requirement specification document. So we're going to be having this webinar tomorrow. It is by quite an expert in this field. His name is Arun Cherian, and he's working on his own, startup in the disability space. So I think you all might enjoy, being a part of that webinar. If that timing is inconvenient, there will, the video will be available on YouTube because it's going to be recorded as part of the Hangouts on Air. And we will most likely also have another session by another expert, a design expert in this field, at 2 a.m. India time. I'm not sure what the translates to across the world, but that session is yet to be confirmed. If that happens, then you're welcome to attend both sessions or whichever one is more comfortable for you.
Okay, and we'll keep informing you about the upcoming sessions. So I think there are topics that are defined, but the sessions yet to be confirmed. So we'll keep updating you about these. Do we have other questions? Otherwise, we can also just finish with our presentation. Just the last thing we wanted to cover is the design parameters, and then we can take some final questions at the end. So maybe I suggest we continue with this, and then we take a final round of questions. So I trust all of you can see the slide, design parameters. This is what you can also find on our website. So this is the context we are innovating for. This is really the one thing we could not emphasize enough. I think, well, basically all of you have been selected because we've seen an ability to understand the context we're innovating for. You already understand to a great extent what kind of solutions we're looking for, and also the need of interacting with the people, with the users, and involving them in the design. And all along this coming process, we really encourage you, yes, to include these users in your process. Maybe what hasn't come across very well now is that actually for all the teams in Bangalore, they have one person with disability as part of the team. And this will be a unique asset. So if you can also include someone that can bring in this user perspective to your team, this will definitely be a great asset. I'd like to give the word to Mohan. I'm sure you have much more to share on this than me. What is your message basically to the participants? What should they consider as they go along in designing their solutions?
So when we look at designs for this marketplace, a belief is that one should look at a solution that will actively look at solving the problem without having any other constraint in mind, be it economic or otherwise. And as one designs for the end problem, one should also weave in considerations of serviceability and affordability. But I would not place affordability as the key criteria, lest it makes people cut corners in what needs to be delivered. So I think the key message is you should deliver a technically good solution first, and then look at how do I make it serviceable. And once these two are met, then look at saying how do I make it more affordable in the sequence of parameters that one would consider. The other aspect that one must look at is that the solutions are aimed for rural India or any other developing nation. So even aspects of distribution should be taken into account. Products that one designs should be easy to distribute, should not be, once it's difficult to distribute, the solution does not reach the end beneficiary, and that does not help anyone. So along with the design, one should look at aspects of manufacturability and distribution of the product into rural areas in India and other developing countries. Over to you, Andrina.
Thank you very much. Maybe you can share one advice on how to involve the users in the process. What's your recommendation on that?
Okay, so more than a recommendation, I'll tell you what we've done for the on-site groups here. Many of the on-site groups did not have a person with disability on their team, but they have the advantage of being here where we have a fairly large-sized population of people with different kinds of conditions, and we can provide people to be their beta testers and users and somebody they can go and talk to. So if each of your teams can find somebody with the kind of condition that you're trying to find a solution for nearby, I would suggest that you rope them in or enroll them in as part of your team. And if that is not possible, I would say at least at certain checkpoint stages, you should be able to go back to people with the kind of disability they're trying to address, and have them try out your product at different stages, and that will give valuable feedback on how well the product is suited for the solution that you're trying to get at.
Thank you very much, Mohan, for sharing. Is there anyone that wants to add? Maybe Tarun, you also have a message or recommendation for the teams?
Yeah, just something that came out quite strongly. I think Mohan has referred to this in the on-site, was that what we recognized even when the selection was being done is that it was responding to a need for which all the ideas that came up and that were selected, they were responding to a need which might have, if it was solved, if we found a proper solution, if we found something that people would adopt, it would have huge impact across the sector. And the second thing that we saw was that people had some insight into this process. But we felt quite strongly that in a sense, the more time you spent in actually perhaps looking at designs. I mean, I think people were feeling that their ideas were selected, but actually I think it was what they wanted to solve that was selected. So what I would suggest, and I think Mohan has said this as well, is as much time as you can think about redesigning, designing with people who are disabled, bringing in what Martin brought also, and what we saw was in Bangalore, is that doing work with the disabled rather than for them. I can't sort of emphasize this enough. There was the beginning of that feeling that people are going to shift their designs to really bring in that user perspective. And please reach out to us if you're not able to do so. It is possible that we can sort of contact people in whichever locations you are. But I would suggest that locally, even if you get involved with people within disabled schools or people who can kind of test the products at the concept stage, this will make your designs much stronger.
Thank you very much. So I think this is the opportunity for all of you to ask some remaining questions you have. On the slide, you just see also the next steps, what will be uploaded on the video. Again, please let us know if you have any questions or need specific support. We really want to be very approachable over the coming weeks, so please reach out to us anytime you have a question. And next step is, of course, to get started with your work. So please,
Andrina,
anyone. Yes?
Andrina, can you hear me? This is Marty.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, I just need a little clarification. When I was getting the information this morning, the focus point, and certainly in Bangalore on-site, might very well be a very specific sector, i.e. rural India, underserved populations. But for the online track, if I'm in California and my idea is being generated because of people I know locally, am I off focus, or should I be, is the idea of this particular Makeathon, including online track, about rural India, or is it broader than that internationally?
Tarun, do you want to take that question, or please unmute?
Okay, Martin, let me begin an answer to that question as I understand it, and Mohan or others, please add. There are certain things that are true for all disabled people. It doesn't matter where they are. So, for example, we've had several ideas when it comes to daily living, and it might be the way that people hold their spoons or knives or forks or pens, or how they dress themselves. And I think this is true, universally. So a solution for that would absolutely translate well to a rural environment. There are other things to do with mobility, either internal mobility in the house or external mobility, which in a sense need to be adapted for to work in rural conditions. A third aspect, I mean, if you look at the sets of challenges, the second set of challenges about remote communication is how do one keep in touch, how does one have the information about people, etc. Again, I think that you'll see that there are clearly different environments in which this operates. So in developed country environments, there is so much better communication, better access, even for people who are disabled. So what I would say is that we are primarily, primarily just going back to the beginning, we are concerned about the people who get, who need help in rural developing environments, which is why we started this challenge. But we don't think that all the solutions only necessarily need to be done in that way. That is what our focus is, and certainly that is what we think that we will select in terms of the kind of impact that we have. I hope that answers it to some extent. I wonder whether, Mohan, you want to add a few words?
To add to what Tarun has said,
Mohan?
yes, can you hear me?
We do.
Yeah, okay. So to add to what Tarun has said, I if you look at much of the developing world and what we have done, it has been typically localizing a solution that has worked in the Western world or the developed world. So in a sense, though we talk about rural focus and developing world focus, if there is something that is relevant to a developed country, I'm sure it will have a lot more relevance in a developing country as something that is on the edge of technology or the forefront of the solutions that one would look for and would need further work possibly to make it a little more appropriate for a developing country. But if the need exists in a developed country, it for certain will exist in a developing country.
And this maybe relate to reverse innovation in the way that whatever we design for developing countries can then find a way back to developed countries as well, and actually find an applicability there or application. Does this answer your question, or do we have more questions?
Yeah, it does answer my question. I'll just go ahead and make one comment, though. With regards to sort of almost a misnomer about what's available in developed countries, people with disabilities are underserved globally. So a lot of these solutions that come from the West or maybe come from someone like myself oftentimes are serving people who are underserved. And the idea that somehow access is better here than somewhere else, I understand that perspective, but I also just FYI, you should know that people with disabilities are underserved everywhere.
Thank you. Do we have other questions from the audience? Anyone?
Hi, Andrina. I have a question. It's not a question or more of a request. Actually, the project we are working on is the automation for homes. So it really depends upon how rural people we are focusing on, because if we really move to slums, it's like a really different kind of a setting. If I come to a middle class family, it's a different kind of a setting. So I'm in Bangalore for this week for some presentations, and I'll be free in evenings. So if maybe some of you can help me get in contact with a person, I can see the home settings and really, understand their problems so that I can work on it more specifically.
Wonderful. I think somehow your question is related to also what Marty said before. And this is really something we also thought about as we were going through the applications. And specifically also on automation, we said this is part of the open challenge number 9, where we would really push ourselves to the boundaries, and we would encourage you to kind of set strong limitations, to go to very, very low resource and affordable environments, and to just see what's possible. So I think this is what we would invite you to do, and see where could we maybe apply automation if we go to the extreme. So I think this is what we would be curious about. Then on the other part of your question, yes, and maybe Pavan, I think you want to say something, or at least those in Bangalore who could help.
Right, so you can definitely visit Workbench Projects to brainstorm with us for a bit. Nihal and I will be available there. Apart from that, you can definitely go to APD if you have not been there, to definitely use their network, because they have every kind of demographic coming there with different status quo also. Correct me, Mohan, if I'm wrong, because they have a lot of people with a lot of different age groups, a lot of different levels in the strata in the society coming there. working with APD very closely. So you can definitely take a look at each one of those homes and kind of come to do your base research in order to figure out what exactly do you mean by home automation, what exactly what need are you trying to solve, what kind of devices are you trying to bring in, and all of these.
Okay. So Pawan, can you maybe share your contact information so that I can be in contact with you to arrange some a time or the day I can
Absolutely. I
use
mean,
it?
sure, we can do that. And if you can connect Vibhuti to me, we can definitely.
Definitely. Whatever queries you have, send them to the info at Enable Makeathon. I will make sure that we follow up. So
Okay,
I'll
thank
make
you.
the connection for sure. Okay, do we have more questions from anyone?
One other quick comment I wanted to make that I also made in the earlier webinar. I don't know if it has already been made here about the caregivers.
Can you say again about what?
About the caregivers.
Ah, the caregivers. No, please go ahead.
Yes. So one thing that we also talked about offline several times at APD was how every product is kind of geared towards the people with disability itself, but also it would be nice if you guys can also consider looking at the caregivers and then designing your product that could be easily handled by the caregivers or the people who are helping the person with disability use the device or whatever it is, because I think nobody focuses more on the person who dedicates their life to actually help the person with disability. So it would be really nice to see your product also considering their position and then helping them in some way or alleviating their pain.
I have
Thank
a
you very
couple of
much.
things to add to what Pawan is saying.
Mm-hmm.
One is, of course, the caregivers and how do you enable caregivers deliver better care. The other aspect that is sort of missing in most of these proposals is virtually nobody has looked at infrastructure modifications or enablement in order to help people use their devices. We may design as many devices as we want, but they also have a certain ask of the infrastructure. And if some of the teams, if it's not too late, can look at infrastructure as an area for enabling easier access for people with disability, it will be a uh, nice place to be in. Right, that's one. Second is for Vibhuti about talking about home automation. If you're in Bangalore, you please get in touch with me over phone. I'm sure Pawan or somebody will be able to give you the numbers, and we can arrange for a visit to a slum area in Bangalore where you can see places that children with disabilities stay in and look at what kind of challenges they face in daily life.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohan. And to add to that, I think we really hope that this is the start and all these ideas that you're working on. Sorry, I'm just muting everyone else. Sorry, can you? Yes, I think it's better. Sorry. We hope that these ideas are the start. So we will also put them on the website, and we hope that this will lead to further engagement and then lead to other teams that are working on other ideas, even if it's not part of the competition as such, and they're not selected, but maybe work independently. So we hope to start a process and to encourage more people around the world to be working on solutions and to be sharing them with us. Do we have more questions at this point?
I actually
have.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Just to follow up on what was just said, maybe a clarification. Um, the challenge that I proposed was an open challenge, and so it was more about adapting technology that might already exist. So part of the key there is to not so much develop a prototype like you would traditionally think of a prototype, but more adapting technology that exists, i.e. access to a mobile app. And the real solution largely is about awareness and maybe marketing to figure out how best to enhance that awareness. Is that what you were talking about in terms of not just the product itself, but actually how to introduce the product to the market?
Daru, do you want to answer that, or?
Yeah, I think actually that was in response to what Mohan. I think that was in response to what Mohan said. And if that's the case, please Mohan answer it. But absolutely, I mean, I think there were two aspects of this that came out. One was that you know, if there's an existing structure, an infrastructure to deliver a particular device, then often a new an innovation requires us to put in place the infrastructure to deliver something different. So with the kind of app, I think what we've got to assume, for example, is that people in these environments have the technology to use it. I think, you know, I think we know that in the next sort of few years, in most parts of the world, people will have cheap smartphones. So this is possible. But I think that there is, you know, there's situations of language, there's situations of awareness of apps, there's situations of, you know, who would, in a sense, find, you know, the disabled people and get them involved. I mean, the issues of access are really quite extreme. I take your point, Martin. I understand that, you know, in developed countries too, people, you know, suffer from the same access issues. But I think all we're saying is that consider how the whole thing can be delivered so that the end user can have whatever they have delivered in the way that the system would allow it. If that makes any sense, yeah.
And we have one team that is working also on awareness. In India, it's the team Ekans Trust. So they're working on an app to collect data, but it's really also on awareness and prevention. So I'm sure it would be good for you to talk to them and maybe learn from each other as you go along.
Quickly to add what to what Tarun said, I think what we all mean is innovation, either in terms of process or product or services, or combining all of these. Are equally crucial to reach or be impactful in this region of, you know, I mean, in this region of doing good work with people with disability.
There's one other thing that I'd like to sort of bring, and you know, I think this will be followed by a question which is given to each team. One of the things that we're involved with is that we recognize that you know, the kind of funding that we're giving through the prize may not be adequate for people, and you know, there would be development which takes more money. And so we are going through the process of finding other people to find angel investors, seed capital, money from the government, etc., to support people, so that you know, at the demo day, apart from the prize, people may be able to connect with investors or philanthropists or whoever in order to take their ideas forward. Now, obviously, one of the things that immediately comes to that investors ask us is that we're really interested in the teams. You know, often ideas are very good, but we need an entrepreneur to take things forward. Now, when we look across the board, there are many different kinds of people, including you, who are participating. Some are students, some are working in technology institutes, some are working in disability environments or NGOs, or you know, working in that. And it's not necessarily the case that you would either think that, you know, you want to run this as a business or have the wherewithal to do so. And partly, we hope to kind of address that in the business bootcamp. But also, for many of you, it's not about profit, and it might be that you're trying to create these, you know, the things that you're doing to make them more available open source, or just run them in a non-profit way. So we need to also understand, I mean, apart from the infrastructure to deliver a kind of a new solution, we also need somebody to take these ideas forward. So we will follow up with each of you to try and understand how is it that you want to go ahead. Do you want to, become an entrepreneur to take your idea forward, or is it something that you want to sell to somebody? Is it something that you would like to sort of maybe develop and then have, available free, on say Thingiverse or a portal like that? Because we also have to get that right. Otherwise, people are not going to be able to get these products. Does that make sense?
Thank you. So really stating there's a diversity of challenges and also diversity of solutions. So we'll try to cater to all your needs and also follow up individually with all of you. Okay, are there a few more questions? Otherwise, we can close this session.
Yeah. One final point, just one last point I want to make is that we've done a lot of work, and all of you have done a lot of work to get so far. And really, 60 days is not a lot of time. I know that many of you have worked on these challenges for years, and some of you are starting with new ideas. It feels like the burden has passed from us to you, and I really sort of recommend highly that please, if you need any help, get back in touch with us. Yeah, we have the means to kind of connect you with people who can help you. The mentors are available, and it's a really extraordinary group of people we've got together. The videos do show something, but if you need help in any other way, if you want you want an introduction to a makerspace in your environment, if you need business help, whatever you feel the weakness of your team is, or where you feel you could get additional support, please come to us. Just ask us, just send us emails on the same website, and we will absolutely try and do this. We don't want you to feel alone in it. We know it's a huge kind of challenge for you to deliver all of these things, so please feel free to reach out to us.
And I think I'd like to add to that also by just saying this is also a first for us. So we've never done this. It's an experiment as such, and we're really just learning as we go away. And so this is really also to ask you for your help. If you have feedback or recommendations, please let us know, and we can really learn from that. So we'll try to accommodate all that you tell us that you would need from us as we go along. And at the same time, we also ask you to bear with us at some point. And yeah, we're excited to be going this journey with you, very much so. Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to share something or to say something?
I hate to keep jumping in, but I will, just to sort of re-emphasize something that's already been said. The importance of having somebody with a disability on your team. We're at the beginning of a very exciting process, and sometimes it can be very difficult to identify or to figure out who could best participate, who has a disability that's relevant to the challenge you might have. If you don't engage that person, if you don't find that person, if you don't prioritize the need for that, you're running the risk of getting off track. You really need to, and I think everybody from the projects that I've heard introduced, you're probably already directly working with someone, and good. That's all. It's really important, and a lot of times people, for a lot of reasons, aren't able to sort of engage in that, and if they do, they're inevitably going to delay whatever it is that they want to develop if they don't bring somebody in at the very beginning. So I encourage everyone to not lose sight of that. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Martin. Okay, is there anyone else? Otherwise, yeah. Tarun, do you want to say something?
just thanks everyone for being here, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, so there's a third webinar tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. So if there's any team member of yours that wants to join, please let them know. And we'll be following up with further information in the coming days. So we're very much looking forward to be working with you, to be talking to you. And best of luck. And we're very happy to have you on board. So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye and all the best. I'm signing off.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.